Stop right there, criminal scum! Hit all the buttons and watch this video to the end or pay with your blood! Ha! It's Ramsey Dewey over here in Shanghai, China. If you enjoyed seeing me cosplay as an Oblivion guard from Elder Scrolls 4, stay tuned. My daughter and I have filmed a whole grip of Elder Scrolls parody videos that are guaranteed to make you laugh if you're into Elder Scrolls, and if not, watch it anyway because it's gonna be good. Now, on to today's topic. Did I mention yet I'm Ramsey Dewey over here in Shanghai, China? I sometimes forget if I say that, because if I don't say that, you'll forget who I am and where I am. Anyway, I saw a video making the rounds on social media that got a lot of traction a couple weeks ago at the ADCC Open, I think it was, in Texas. There was a kids competition, and Andy Varela, the coach of the kid who won this match, reposted this clip of his student doing some pretty cool looking takedowns, and the people of the internet lashed back, and I'll tell you why. Specifically because a large percentage of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners don't actually know the rules of the sports they're training to compete in. Why do I say that? Well, because they don't. And when you don't know the rules of the sport you're competing in, you're probably going to lose, or at the very least not experience consistent success. Today's rule, slamming. Let's discuss slamming. What is and isn't a slam? Let's take a look at the video in question first. Okay. So, kid in the black shorts. That's Andy Varela's student. Kid in the green rash guard. Gets taken down, rolls over. Black shorts picks him up, does a high dive drop, walks away. And that's it. That was the match. After that blast double leg, the competitor in the green rash guard took a shoulder to the ribs and was unable to continue. So I looked at the comments because I knew for certain people would be saying, that's a slam, that's illegal, he should be disqualified, he should be sent to jail. Stop right there, criminal scum! And I was not disappointed. These are the things people were saying in the comment section, of course, because they don't know the rules of the ADCC, they don't know what a slam is and isn't. This is a slam. This is not a slam. Now, every grappling sport has different rules. In some wrestling leagues, at some levels, this might be penalized. In other grappling sports, it's scored or penalized very differently. For example, in Shuaijiao, Chinese folk wrestling, this would be a 3-point throw. In Sanda, you would score the big points for this throw because you remain on your feet and the other guy goes down. In Bok, Mongolian wrestling, you'd win the match. In Sambo, this is called a total victory. If you are able to throw your opponent onto his back, flat on his back, and he remains on the ground while you are standing, that's an automatic win in Sambo. In ADCC rules, well, it's legal to throw or yeet your opponent. This isn't a slam. We'll get into the technical distinction in a minute. But you don't score unless you land in a dominant position. Specifically, land in a position where you have passed the guard on the way down. That's where you score the bigger points in ADCC. Now, the rules will differ a little bit regarding slamming from one competition to the other. For example, in IBJJF, the International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation, slamming is an instant disqualification. But what is slamming? In IBJJF, it is, well, let's read the definition. Let's go to the rule book. A slam is lifting and returning an opponent to the mat with unnecessary force, specifically meaning you are holding on to them. For example, they are in their guard, their closed guard. You stand up or you elevate them, even if you are on your knees, and drive them down onto their back, onto their shoulders in a forceful manner, or more specifically, with unnecessary force. Now, that's a little bit subjective. Who gets to decide? The referee gets to decide that. So Why is this not a slam? Because he threw the guy and he seemed to hit the ground pretty hard and it looked like he was hurt, right? So why isn't that a slam? Why isn't that illegal? Well, look, throws are not slams. That was a throw. Picking the guy up and yeeting him, as the kids say these days, is not a slam. Okay? Yeeting your opponent through the air is not a slam. All right. I love this technique. The high dive, you grab the guy by the hips, you hoist him up, you tilt to the side, and you can either drop him, throw him, yeet him if you will, or if you want to be mean and aggressive about it, drop down with him, drive your weight on top of him, and slam him, which is the order of the day in an MMA fight. But as you may notice, he didn't do that. He didn't slam him. He threw him. 100% legal. And yet, hundreds of commenters said this was unsportsmanlike. This should not have happened. Let's read some of these comments, man. Because, dude, there are so many throws that people will not blink an eye at. Soy nugget, no problem. Flying mare, cool. Oh, man. Ogoshi, haregoshi, even a suplex or a high crotch lift. These are all throws. They're not slams, and they're perfectly legal under ADCC rules. So let's read some of these comments. Where are we? Okay. Comment section, don't disappoint me. So Andy Varela, the coach, says, my kid's team is full of terrorists. He's using that as a compliment. Couldn't get away with that back in the early 2000s. But some people are like, wow, that's cool. And then this one. Ain't gonna lie, that's one of the worst shots I ever seen. All you did was bulldoze a nerd. Try that in a real wrestling match, Maine. So, yeah. These are children. These are literal children. And this is one of the milder comments deriding these children. A lot of people were, how can I put this, hoisting themselves up as authorities on the subject. Well, I'm a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and my technique is better than this. No kidding, this kid's an orange belt in the child's division. Really? If you're a black belt and you're not better than a child, a literal child, you need to give your belt back. That's a problem. That's a problem. So, why? Why are we doing that? Grown men? Why are we doing that? On a side note, these comments made me so angry, I wrote a reply. I got up on my high horse, got up on my soapbox, and I said, I tried to write. All these grown men picking on children. It's disgraceful what these grown men are doing. And then autocorrect, or auto-incorrect as I like to call it, changed grown men to brown men. And it said, what all these brown men are doing is disgraceful. And it changed my attempt to get up on my high horse and be holier than thou into appearing as if I was being racially insensitive. So thank you, autocorrect. You're a treasure. National treasure, man. What else? That's effing lame. Use techniques to achieve a goal. This kid is being encouraged to go thrash around and hurt people with no control. Coming from a wrestling coach and someone who loves the sport, is this entertaining? Sure. Cool double leg and bullying him, man. But this isn't the sport. Slamming him and letting him up isn't jits. Not a slam. Once again, that's not a slam. This is a throw, not a slam. Now, I understand in some wrestling organizations, under some rule sets, this might be considered a slam, and that's okay in your sport, but as we covered before, different sports have different rules. If you do this in a boxing match, for example, instant disqualification because you're not allowed to throw people in a boxing match, obviously. So you have to understand which sport we're competing in. It's all grappling at the end of the day, but they're all different rule sets. And if we're shaming a child for doing nothing wrong except for being more aggressive, more athletic, and looking better at doing it than you're the problem, not him. If you want to be a takedown demon, sure, do it. But Also, compete in the sport you are in. He kinda did, dude. And why try and hurt someone at an amateur level? I don't know. This is just pretty weird. And then, what's this guy's name? Mason says, all these BJJ guys crying because he used force in a fight. BJJ is a fighting sport. It's a martial art. You guys make BJJ sound so soft. 59 replies. This is going to be interesting. Ooh, looks like a lot of the replies got deleted. Most of the replies got deleted on that one. Apparently it turned into a shouting match. But yeah, it is a combat sport. Yes, I understand these are kids, and so some people get mad about it. These kids are using unnecessary roughness. Look, in America, kids this age and younger play American football where they tackle each other, where they literally concuss each other multiple times on the field and do significantly worse things. And what do people do when they watch this? They cheer, "Yay, this is rad!" And it happens in a submission grappling sport, and suddenly people lose their minds. It's weird. Anyway, let's get back to some of the points I was making, because these comments are kind of infuriating. So too many BJJ practitioners do not know the rules of their own sport. What is and isn't a slam in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? If I'm in his guard, I pick him up. I return him to the mat with what's considered an excessive amount of force. That's a slam, even if I'm kneeling on the floor. So this, slam, you can get disqualified. I stand up in his closed guard. I drop down. That can be considered a slam. That's absolutely a slam, and you'll get disqualified. I stand up. I push on his hips to try to open the guard, and he falls. You can get disqualified for slamming, even in that situation. If I pick him up attempting a takedown and drop him down while holding onto him, and he hits the floor with an excessive amount of force, that may be considered a slam. What's not a slam? Picking up your opponent and throwing them. Let's say I want to do some judo. I do an ogoshi, not a slam. Ippon soinage, flying mare, not a slam. A suplex, not a slam. These are throws. High amplitude throws are not slams. Picking up your opponent, throwing, releasing, and then letting him hit the floor, or yeeting him, as the kids like to say these days, not a slam. But once again, throwing your opponent is not a slam. Some very benign things, very benign, harmless actions can get you disqualified as slamming in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Some very benign, harmless actions can get you disqualified as knee reaping in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Some very harmless actions. Because they make a rule, they fit that rule, so they'll get you DQ'd. You have to know the rules of the sport. And you might say, well, look, should it really be considered a slam if I'm in guard and I just, on my knees, elevate them up and then push them down to the mat because that doesn't hurt them? Look, if we start making exceptions for some things, we can make exceptions for everything. That is why we have very clear and cut and dry rules. No slamming, period. This is what a slam is. This is what a slam isn't. And you can do all the whataboutism that you want and say, well, an ippon soinage done with a lot of force can do a lot of damage, a lot more damage than just driving someone down into the mat when you're in the guard on the floor, and therefore that should get you DQ. No, look. When we start making exceptions for one thing, we have to make exceptions for everything. That's true in the rules of combat sports, and it's true in the rules of life. And right now, everybody out there in the world is trying to make exceptions for themselves so that they can be the special one who can get away with whatever the heck they want, and that doesn't cut it. Not in sport, not in life. So, the other kid, the kid in the green rash guard, he could not continue the match. He actually got hurt, as far as I understand. I read some commentary from some people involved in the tournament. The blast double, the shoulder down low, again, perfectly legal technique. apparently knocked the wind out of him, and once he hit the mat, he was unable to continue. So, yeah, man. Too bad for him. Now, people got mad. They said the kid got hurt, and therefore the other one should be disqualified. Look, it's sad that the kid lost. We should all wish him a speedy recovery. And I'm certain that this kid will learn from this lesson, because this is how we learn. We get out there and train. We get out there and compete. We win some, we lose some, and we learn something from everything, and we come back better the next time. It's how the game works. But look, the onus to protect yourself is on you, not your opponent. Rule number 1 of all combat sports. This is universal. We've discussed every combat sport has different rule sets, and we have to understand them. But the one commonality is this: protect yourself at all times. Rule number 1 of all fighting, of all combat sports, from the most harmful to the most harmless, is this: protect yourself at all times. And if you're not doing that, you haven't learned the right lesson yet. Thank you for watching. Now get out there and train. Did you notice the grappling dummy in this video? You probably did. And if so, you're probably wondering, that thing is so awesome. Where do I get one? Well, we have to thank our friend Patrick over at the Effective Martial Arts channel, who has gone into the manufacturing business of martial arts training dummies. But it's technically not a dummy. It's called the Grappling Smarty. Why? Because it's a smartly designed grappling dummy that maintains posture, maintains its guard, and retracts the arms and legs back into the guarded position. Furthermore, these things have chins, they've got necks, they've got wrists, hands, feet, ankles, toes. You can use them for throws, you can use them for submissions, or my favorite thing of all, teaching. If you are giving a private lesson and you need a third person in the room for modeling a technique, especially for a new student who is not familiar with the concepts, a grappling dummy, or should I say a grappling smarty, is an excellent addition to the gym. Model the technique on the dummy, allow your student to try it out there, and then try it out on a real person. The Grappling Smarty is awesome. If you want one, use my code Ramsey5. Links in the description below. Thanks for watching. Now get out there and train.